If you've been avoiding stairs, wincing when you stand up from a chair, or quietly rearranging your whole day around your knees, this next 5 minutes could change more than you expect. What if the pain you've been living with isn't actually about your knees at all? You know that stiffness the first few steps out of bed before your body remembers how to move? That small hesitation before you step off a curb just to make sure your knee will hold? The way a simple flight of stairs now needs a handrail every single time. The way carrying groceries in from the car makes your knees ache before you've even made it through the door. Here's what I want you to understand. Those aren't just getting older. Those are signals. Your body is telling you something specific, and it's fixable. In my years working with patients well into their 70s and 80s, I've seen the same pattern again and again, and I want to bust a myth right now that keeps people in pain far longer than they need to be. Rest does not fix knee pain. Neither does simply being more careful. In fact, protecting the knee by moving it less is often exactly what makes it worse over time. The knee joint depends on movement to stay lubricated, supported, and strong. Stillness is not safety, it's decline in disguise. Today, I'm going to walk you through a 5-minute chair routine. Just 3 simple movements. No standing required to start, no equipment, no gym. Each one targets a different part of what's actually protecting your knee, not just the joint itself, but the muscles around it that most people never think to train. And I'm going to save the most important piece of this puzzle for the very end, because it's the part almost nobody tells you. Before we begin, tell me in the comments how old you are and where you're watching from today. I read every single one, and I love knowing who's here working on this with me. Let's start with the first movement, because it might be the most underestimated exercise for your knees that exists. It looks too simple to matter. People see it and think, that's not even exercise. But this movement is one of the most effective things you can do for the muscle that acts as your knee's personal bodyguard. I call it the seated knee guard. Here's what's happening underneath the surface. Your quadriceps, the muscles running along the front of your thigh, aren't just for walking and standing. They're the primary stabilizers of your kneecap and the shock absorbers for every step you take. When those muscles weaken, even slightly, your knee joint starts absorbing forces it was never designed to handle alone. That's when you get the grinding, the aching, the swelling after a long day. If this muscle keeps weakening without you noticing, here's what tends to happen. Standing up from a low chair gets harder. Going downstairs becomes more uncomfortable than going up. And eventually, simple things like getting out of the car or off the toilet start requiring you to push off with your arms because your legs alone can't do it comfortably anymore. That's not just inconvenient, that's independence quietly slipping away. Physical therapists have long pointed to quadriceps strength as one of the single best predictors of long-term knee comfort and mobility in older adults. It's not about building big muscles. It's about giving your knee the support system it needs to stop overworking itself. Here's how to do it. Sit toward the front edge of a sturdy chair, feet flat on the floor, hip-width apart. Keeping your back straight and your core gently engaged, slowly extend one leg out in front of you until it's as straight as comfortably possible without walking the knee harshly. Hold that extended position for 2 to 3 seconds, then lower it back down with control, resisting the urge to just let it drop. That's 1 repetition. Do 10 slow repetitions on one leg, then switch to the other. If your knee is having a tender day, shrink the range of motion. You don't need a full extension to get the benefit. Even a small, controlled lift counts. Do this most days of the week, and within a few weeks, you'll notice something. Standing up feels less like a negotiation with your knees and more like something your body just does. As you get stronger, you can add a light ankle weight or slow the tempo down even further, which increases the challenge without adding any impact at all. This is why professionals recommend it before anything else more advanced. It builds the foundation everything else depends on. And more than that, it hands you back something that pain has a way of quietly taking: the confidence to stand up in front of people without thinking twice about it. If this kind of calm, practical guidance is helpful to you, consider subscribing. This channel is built for people who want real answers about aging well without the scare tactics. No pressure, just useful information whenever you need it. But strength alone isn't the whole story. There's something else your knee relies on that has nothing to do with muscle size, and almost nobody trains it. This next one gets skipped constantly because it doesn't feel like exercise in the traditional sense. There's no burn, no sweat, nothing dramatic. But that's exactly why it matters. I call it the stability hold. Your knee isn't just a hinge. It's a joint that constantly makes tiny, split-second adjustments to keep you balanced, especially on uneven ground, on stairs, or when you shift your weight quickly. That adjustment system relies on something called proprioception, which is really just your body's sense of where your joints are in space without having to look. As we age, that sense naturally dulls a little, and when it does, your knee starts reacting a beat too late to catch a wobble before it becomes a stumble. If this goes untrained, here's what it tends to look like in daily life. You start feeling less sure of yourself on grass, gravel, or uneven sidewalks. You hold the railing a little tighter than you used to, even on stairs you've climbed 1,000 times. And that hesitation you feel before stepping off a curb, that's not caution. That's your knee telling you it doesn't quite trust its own footing anymore. Research on fall prevention in older adults consistently points to balance and joint position training, not just strength training, as one of the most protective habits available, often reducing fall risk more than strength work alone. Here's how to do the stability hold. Sit toward the front of your chair again, feet flat on the floor. This time, lift one foot just an inch or two off the ground, keeping your knee bent at roughly the same angle as your other leg. Hold that lifted position, staying as still as possible for 10 to 15 seconds. You'll feel small muscles around your knee and ankle working to keep everything steady, even though you're barely moving. Lower your foot down with control, rest for a moment, then repeat on the other side. Do 3 holds per leg. If balance feels shaky even while seated, keep one hand resting lightly on the chair or a nearby table for support. There's no reason to test yourself unnecessarily here. As this gets easier, you can extend the hold time or try closing your eyes briefly while seated, which removes visual cues and challenges your body's internal sense of position even further. This is a favorite among physical therapists because it trains the exact system that so often gets ignored until after a fall happens rather than before. And what it gives you back isn't just steadiness, it's the freedom to walk on a gravel path or step off a curb without that flicker of doubt. That's not a small thing. That's dignity, restored one quiet rep at a time. There's one more piece to this puzzle, and it's the one most people never even consider, because it doesn't happen in the exercise itself, it happens in what surrounds it. I call this one motion without impact. Here's the mechanism. Your knee joint is lubricated by something called synovial fluid, which nourishes the cartilage and helps the joint move smoothly. That fluid doesn't circulate well when the knee sits still for long periods, but it also doesn't need pounding or high-impact movement to circulate properly. It simply needs gentle, repeated motion through a comfortable range. Neglect this, and the knee tends to feel stiffer in the mornings, tighter after sitting for a while, like it needs a few minutes to warm up before it moves normally. Over time, that stiffness window tends to stretch longer and longer. A well-known finding from joint health researchers is that gentle, frequent range of motion movement can improve knee comfort and cartilage nourishment more effectively than occasional intense exercise. Consistency beats intensity here, every time. To do this, stay seated and simply extend one leg out, then bend it back in, slowly and smoothly, like you're drawing a gentle arc through the air. No holding, no pausing, just fluid motion. Do 15 slow reps per leg once or twice a day, especially first thing in the morning or after long periods of sitting. If it feels tight, shrink the range. The goal is smooth, not big. Over time, you can add gentle circles at the ankle during this movement, which brings even more circulation into the whole leg. This is often the piece professionals add last, not because it's less important, but because once strength and stability are in place, this is what keeps everything feeling easy, not just functional. It's the difference between a knee that works and a knee that feels like yours again. Let's bring this together. The first movement, the seated knee guard, builds the quadriceps strength that acts as your knee's support system, so your joint isn't carrying the load alone. The second, the stability hold, retrains your body's sense of balance and joint position, the exact system most falls trace back to. And the third, motion without impact, keeps the joint itself nourished and smooth, so stiffness doesn't get to set the terms of your morning. Now, here's the insight I promised you at the beginning, and it's the one thing I wish more people understood. Knee pain is almost never caused by one single problem. It's caused by a breakdown in communication between your muscles and your joint, between your balance system and your next step, between how your knee feels and how it actually moves. When people chase pain relief alone, they're treating a symptom. When you restore strength, stability, and smooth motion together, you're restoring the conversation your body has been trying to have with itself the whole time. And here's the part that should feel like relief, not pressure. None of this requires a gym membership. None of it requires special equipment or an hour you don't have, or pushing through pain to prove something. It requires 5 minutes, a sturdy chair, and showing up for yourself consistently. Gradual, gentle, repeated effort is what changes a knee. Not intensity, not willpower, just consistency done kindly. So, tell me, in the comments below, which of these 3 movements are you going to start with today? I'd love to know, and I'll be there reading and responding. If this helped you even a little, consider subscribing, not because you have to, but because this channel will be here whenever you need steady, honest guidance on aging well. No pressure, just support when you need it. Because the goal was never just a pain-free knee, it was always about giving you back the freedom to stand up, walk out your front door, and move through your day like the strong, capable person you've always been.